Have you ever noticed how some people walk through life with an invisible field of respect? They're not loud or aggressive, but manipulators just seem to leave them alone. Meanwhile, you might feel constantly probed and pushed, dealing with subtle power plays and backhanded compliments that leave you drained and confused. What separates these two groups? It isn't luck. It's a specific set of psychological principles. That invisible shield is built on self-awareness, knowing your triggers so you can respond thoughtfully, not just react. It's forged with emotional regulation, keeping you calm when others try to create chaos. But the most crucial part? Consistent boundaries. It's learning to state your limits clearly and calmly without apology. This isn't about becoming aggressive. It's about building a quiet confidence so solid, their games simply can't find a foothold, allowing you to navigate the world on your own terms.
Let's get real for a second. Does any of this sound familiar? A coworker playfully points out a small mistake you made in front of everyone. A friend asks for a favor that feels more like a demand, and when you hesitate, they hit you with, "I thought we were friends." Or maybe it's the person who constantly interrupts you, trying to make you feel anxious and eager to please. These aren't just random, awkward moments. They are subtle, often deniable boundary tests. The person testing you is gathering data. Will you get flustered? Apologize when you don't need to? Will you shrink back and just comply? Your reaction tells them what they can get away with. These probes are like 1,000 tiny paper cuts to your self-worth. They're designed to make you question yourself, feel off balance, and slowly give up control. People caught in this cycle often feel a constant, low-grade anxiety, always bracing for the next little challenge. It's exhausting, because you're playing a game without ever being told the rules. The emotional cost drains your energy and chips away at your confidence. But what if you could not only see these tests coming, but become the kind of person who is far less likely to be tested in the first place?
To do that, we need to understand the mindset that drives these games. For some people, social interactions aren't about connection. They're about establishing who's on top. This behavior is linked to a personality trait called social dominance orientation. People with a high degree of this trait tend to see the world as a competitive, dog-eat-dog place. They're more comfortable with inequality and are more likely to assert their position. In one-on-one interactions, their probes, a hint of intimidation, a boundary push, a subtle jab, are all aimed at one thing: figuring out the path of least resistance. They are drawn to signs of low self-esteem or a desperate need for approval because those traits make a person easier to influence. It's less like a predator hunting the weak and more like water flowing downhill. It follows the easiest path. People pleasers, or those who are empathetic to a fault, can sometimes be easier targets because they're more likely to give in to keep the peace. When you react with anger, guilt, or anxiety, it's feedback that the tactic is working. They can use your emotional state to cloud your judgment and stay in control. So why do some people seem almost immune? Because they send clear signals that they aren't an easy path. They project a sense of self-possession that tells would-be manipulators, there's nothing for you here. Their immunity comes from a deep-seated inner calm. They've built the invisible shield. And you can build yours too. It's a state of being built on quiet power, and it starts with one core principle: master your composure.
The primary fuel for a manipulator is your emotional reaction. The moment you get angry, flustered, or defensive, you're handing them the keys to your head. They now know your buttons, and you can bet they'll press them again. Emotional composure is how you deny them that fuel. When faced with a probe, a backhanded compliment, or an unfair accusation, the most powerful response is often a calm, neutral one. Instead of jumping to defend yourself, just take a breath. Let the comment hang in the air for a second. This isn't about suppressing your feelings. It's about choosing not to be controlled by them. A manipulator expects a reaction. When you give them nothing, no anger, no panic, You break their script. Your calmness is unnerving because it signals their attempt to control you has failed. You're quietly declaring that your inner peace isn't up for grabs. Start by noticing your emotional triggers in low-stakes situations. Feel that rush of defensiveness? Just pause before you speak. This control over your own reactivity is the foundation of your shield.
People who use pressure tactics thrive on momentum. They hit you with rapid-fire questions, urgent demands, anything to rush you into a decision that benefits them. They need you off balance, without a moment to think. Your first tool to counter this is simple but powerful: the micro-pause. When someone hits you with an invasive question or an unreasonable demand, don't answer. Not right away, just pause. For 2, maybe 3 seconds. Look at them calmly. This isn't an awkward silence, it's a controlled one. And in that tiny gap, a few things happen. You shatter their rhythm. You give yourself a precious moment to actually think. And you non-verbally communicate that you are not intimidated and you operate on your own timeline. Imagine a coworker says, "Can you finish this report for me by 5? It should be easy for you." Instead of an instant yes or a flustered excuse, just pause. Hold their gaze for a beat. Now you can respond from a place of control. And that response is where our next principle comes in. This is the art of the redirect.
Manipulative people love trap questions, designed so any direct answer is a loss for you. Why are you always so sensitive? If you start explaining why you aren't, you've already lost. You've accepted their premise that you are being sensitive. The redirect is about refusing to play their game. You don't answer the question, you question the question. You hold up a mirror. So when someone says, "You seem really stressed out lately," instead of defending yourself, you can calmly and curiously ask, "What makes you say that?" This puts the burden back on them to justify their observation, and it often exposes just how little they have to back it up. If you're facing that unreasonable request, after your micropause, you might ask a simple question. Does that seem fair to you? Or, help me understand why that's my responsibility. These aren't aggressive questions, they're assertive. They force the other person to confront the reality of what they're asking. You're no longer a player in their game. You're just an observer, calmly pointing out the rules they're trying to bend. Now, all of this is reinforced by something you're doing long before you even say a word. Your physical presence communicates your level of self-respect. Some people are experts at reading nonverbal cues: slouched posture, avoiding eye contact, fidgeting, making yourself physically smaller. These are signals that you might be easily pushed around. So you have to occupy your space. This is about projecting quiet confidence. It means standing tall, shoulders back, maintaining steady, relaxed eye contact. It's about not shrinking when someone with a big personality enters the room.
When you sit at a table, don't perch on the edge of your seat. Sit back, take up a normal amount of room. This isn't about being intimidating, it's about signaling self-respect. It non-verbally says, "I have a right to be here, and I am comfortable in my own skin." This quiet confidence is a powerful deterrent. People with a strong sense of self-worth are just less appealing targets because their presence alone suggests that manipulation would be a waste of energy. So, that's the shield. It isn't magic, it's a skill set, built on a deep respect for yourself. It starts by mastering your composure, refusing to fuel their fire. Then you use the micropause to control the pace of any interaction. You reinforce it with the art of the redirect, where you refuse to play their games. And it's all held together by the way you occupy your space, projecting a calm confidence that everyone can see. Building this shield is a journey. It begins the moment you decide your peace of mind is non-negotiable. You stop being a passive player in someone else's drama and become the calm architect of your own interactions. Now that you have the tools to build your shield, the next step is spotting the more subtle attacks. Join us next time as we break down the 5 signs of covert narcissism to help you recognize the more hidden forms of manipulation.